Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 16 of Plead Your Case. Today we'll be going over all things NBA trade deadline.
Harden's going to do what he's done every single time with a new team. So it's a gamble for Cleveland, really, but I do think the gamble's in their favor.
Then we'll be sticking with the NBA in a pick'em segment, but also taking things over to Olympic hockey.
Game that's so evenly tied together. And if you would have asked me this morning, I definitely would have said Canada. But I'm going to go USA here.
Next up, we'll be doing a way too early MLB preview.
New York Yankees. What a terrible offseason for the Yankees.
Lastly, Brady Donovan joins the desk to talk about the top 5 moments of this year's Super Bowl.
And Freebird should make you feel like George Washington crossing the Delaware River on a boat.
So sit back, relax, it's time to plead your case.
Welcome in to Plead Your Case, Waynesburg Community Television's national sports debate show, now expanding outside the realm of the Power 4 sports. All our panelists will expand into the depths of professional sports while speaking on the newest sports topics each week. We're also bringing new mini-segments like I Got Something to Say, State of the Union, Pick'em Pools, while even bringing back a popular mini-segment, the 5 and 5. Here at PYC, we plan to create debates, create memories, and the best takes possible for you, the viewer. No one is safe. Every opinion, every angle will be challenged and discussed to further detail. So sit back, relax. It's now time to plead your case.
All right, gentlemen, it's time to discuss all things NBA trade deadline. I'm Benicio Defalco. Join with me to my left, Richie Dininni and Brett Gombita. Gentlemen, we saw a numerous amount of NBA superstars traded at the deadline. Some names to count. James Harden was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers alongside with Darius Garland and a second-round pick. We saw Jaren Jackson Jr. also get dealt. And then another one, Nikola Vucevic to the Boston Celtics. The biggest trade, in my opinion, James Harden to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs are 2-0 with Harden in the lineup. Was this the move to get Cleveland over the hump in the Eastern Conference? Go to you, Brett.
I think it could be. When you pair James Harden with Donovan Mitchell, who's a pure scorer, I think that takes some of the pressure off of James Harden so he doesn't have to be too ball dominant. He doesn't have to be a scorer like he did in some other places. You know, a lot of the times in LA when he played alongside Kawhi, he wasn't really playing alongside Kawhi because Kawhi was out of the lineup. So that kind of forced Harden to be a scorer, forced him to take more shots, but he can kind of take a step back in Cleveland and allow Donovan Mitchell to be more of that guy that thrives in that shooting role. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Harden can do with this Cavaliers team.
Well, I do like the trade. I do think it's better for both sides, including Darius Garland and James Harden. Darius Garland needed a new situation out of there. He's been injury prone, and that's been a big factor for the Cavs and having him start. James Harden provides a very good second option for Donovan Mitchell, like you said, and takes a bit of load off of Harden. I think it's still in between. It's all a matter of if they can get past this Eastern Conference. While it's not a strong conference, the top 3 teams are still in a strong there. Cleveland makes a move that gets them up there to contend, but I just think if they don't make it to the finals, Harden's going to do what he's done every single time with a new team. So it's a gamble for Cleveland, really, but I do think the gamble's in their favor because they have the talent to get there, and Harden could be that missing piece they need, but I don't think so.
So it seems like James Harden is always in the mix in terms of trade deadline talk, but we saw some superstars not get dealt at the trade deadline. Giannis Antetokounmpo was not one to name. Ja Morant and DeMar DeRozan and Draymond Green. It seems like Draymond Green and Giannis Antetokounmpo were included in a lot of the same packages. Now, of these superstars on screen, maybe it's someone that's not on the screen. Who was your biggest shocker in this? We'll go back to you, Brett.
DeMar, I mean, Sacramento is way out of it. You got to get value for him while you can, I think. He's playing alongside not a lot of guys in Sacramento that make their situation any better than what it would have been if they traded DeMar, I feel like. And we're going to talk more about DeMar later because we're going to talk about the Chicago Bulls. And he was an MVP candidate there a few years ago, but ever since then, he hasn't really been relevant. Neither have the Bulls, neither have the Kings. And I'm going to take the opposite road on this one. I'm going to say the Giannis non-trade wasn't really that surprising because he's been subject of many rumors in the past, and none of those times was he traded either.
I'll agree with you on the Giannis trade there, Brett. I have watched through the entire deadline and never once heard Giannis come out and say, I demand a trade. It was always been the factor of the Bucks. They spent all these picks and pieces to try and get Giannis help, and it did not work. and now they're going to kind of be in this road of paying the consequence for it. But my surprising player that did not get traded was Ja Morant. He hasn't been the same since that 2021, 2022 to 2022, 2023 seasons, and he's been injury prone. He's had off the court issues. The team has publicly said they're ready to move on from him, and it seems like he's ready to move on from Memphis. And you don't trade him. You trade. I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But other players, you trade multiple players, and then you just keep him. I don't see a point in keeping him if you don't plan on playing him. He's playing through he has an injury right now. I just don't see a point in keeping Ja Morant on your team if you plan to get rid of him in the offseason. Sticking
with Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies, just a couple seasons ago, they were the second seed in the best conference in basketball. I'm talking about the 2022-2023 season. The following season, they missed the playoffs, a big step down, and then they follow that up. Ja Morant gets in all the off-the-court issues, and then they trade away Dillon Brooks, who's having a career year with Phoenix, Desmond Bane, one of the better shooters in the NBA from three-point range, and then Jaren Jackson Jr., who seems like was always one of the biggest problems in Memphis, at least the media made it seem that way. Now, the media may be wrong, and I got to ask you guys, did Memphis trade away the wrong guys, or should they just trade away Ja Morant?
Well, I think you clear the way for Zach Edey and Santi Aldama to be the backcourt pairing of the future by trading Jaren Jackson Jr. So I kind of think Memphis put themselves in that situation by having 3 starting caliber big men when you can only start 2 really in a modern day NBA lineup. I want to go back to that timeline for a second. There's one big thing missing. They fired Taylor Jenkins while they were in a postseason spot. They were in the midst of a postseason run, and they fired their head coach with under 10 games to go in the season. That made no sense to me. That's where this all stemmed from, I think, and that's you see the lack of responsibility when it comes to Ja Morant. Maybe it's because he doesn't have a head coach in his ear telling him what to do, and it's because Taylor Jenkins got fired. But I kind of like what Memphis is doing for the future. They got set up with Aldama and Edey. You know those 2 are going to be their guys for the future. Cedric Coward's an all right three-point shooter. He might crack the starting lineup in years to come. They also got Walter Clayton in the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade. In case Ja has any more off-court issues or is caught up in any more injuries, Walter Clayton's going to be the guy moving forward.
I like what you're saying there, Brett. Memphis, it was about time for a rebuild. You know, you trade all away your players for all these guys, and end result was that you don't trade away Ja still, and I think when you trade away Jaren Jackson Jr., you get 3 first-round picks, you get a couple more players with it. That was a very good trade on Memphis' end. I don't think it was worth paying 3 first-round picks for Jaren Jackson Jr., though. But you still don't trade Ja. I think you just need to do a hard reset overall because you have your players, you have these young guys, you're just getting into the draft, and it's time for a new thing for Ja Morant. Mind you, he continued doing this stuff. They brought in veteran players like Derrick Rose. He publicly came out and said as well when they got him that he's here to keep Ja Morant in line and help him with his off-the-court issues. End result was that that did not happen. He was still having off-the-court issues. So I think it's a bitter goodbye for both sides, and I think it just needs to happen.
Yeah, you can 100% agree with that, but one of the biggest teams that was active in the trade deadline was the Chicago Bulls. We mentioned Nikola Vucevic at the beginning of the show. They traded away lots of their homegrown talent, still sticking with Josh Giddey. Now, what does this mean for the Chicago Bulls? They traded away most of their homegrown talent and brought in a lot of young talent, kind of an experiment. What does this mean for the Bulls, and what direction do you see them going forward?
I'm looking at them building around Josh Giddey. You acquired Anthony Simons from the Celtics. If I was the Bulls, I would try to re-sign Anthony. I think he's a great scorer, and he could develop further defensively. He's only 27 years of age, too, or that's how old he'll be next season. They drafted Bazelis last year. He's a solid forward. Really what you need right now is a center. You have Jaden Ivey. You have Isaac Okoro, who's only 26. They just need to load up on center, whether that be in the free agency market or in the draft. And honestly, I think it's time to move on from Billy Donovan as well. It's been 4 years now since the Bulls last had a winning season. It might be time for a new voice in that Chicago Bulls locker room.
The Bulls are doing what they should have done a long time ago, and that's rebuilding. They finally, basically, this is a statement for the Bulls saying, we are going to start rebuilding. Obviously, with the NBA and the play-in tournament, you can have a 50-50 year, and you can get into a play-in spot, and you could lose first round. I think that the Bulls are doing a great thing here. They got a couple of young guys. They got a lot of young guys, but also a couple of veterans. Colin Sexton, I'd like to pick up, and 9 second-round picks in this trade deadline. That is incredible by the Bulls, and that's what you want to see. You want to build draft capital overall. And it's going to be a new era in Chicago with the Bulls, and this is what you want to see.
It's hard to believe that a couple of seasons ago, this was a playoff team. You look at that lineup, it was Kobe White no longer on the team, Zach LaVine no longer on the team, Alex Caruso no longer on the team, DeMar DeRozan no longer on the team, Nikola Vucevic no longer on the team. Patrick Williams is the only guy left from that team, and he's been severely underwhelming from a 4th overall pick perspective. So I think the Bulls are doing the right thing by finally going all in and blowing it up.
Well, that's going to wrap up today's NBA trade deadline segment, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, we're going to be doing a pick-em segment, sticking with the NBA, but also taking things over to Olympic hockey. Cade, Henderson, and Tyler Aaon will join the desk, so don't go anywhere. You're watching Plead Your Case. Welcome back to Plead Your Case. Cade Henderson and Tyler Aaon join me at the desk to begin this week's edition of the Pick'em segment. Sticking with the NBA, the Los Angeles Clippers were one of the hottest teams right before the trade deadline, winning 17 of the last 21. They then traded James Harden, and now they're going to be going against his former team and his former teammate in Kevin Durant and the Houston Rockets. Let's start with you, Tyler. Who do you like in this one?
I'm going to take the Los Angeles Clippers in this one. I think, first off, can we talk about the Los Angeles Clippers in their last month? They went from 15 games under 500 to, if they win tonight, they'll be one game out of below 500 and have skyrocketed themselves up until that final spot in the playoff round. But you look at the Rockets, they've dropped their last 2 games here in this one, and they just came off of a 112-106 win over the Oklahoma City Thunder, who had out over 10 players in their roster. So I really like what the Clippers are doing now. Unfortunately, they did trade Harden, but I think they get the win in this one.
I have to agree with you, TA. Or about that Rockets 112-106 victory. The Thunder were missing SGA and struggled entirely to score. I think the Clippers, they played the Timberwolves. They beat them by 19. Kawhi put up 40-plus in that game. And this is a back-to-back as well. The Clippers and Rockets play back-to-back tonight and tomorrow. So I believe that the Clippers will get 2 done here against the Rockets.
Next up, we have a top 5 matchup in the Western Conference with LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers, and then the man that's chasing him, Wemby and the San Antonio Spurs. Back to you, Cade. Who you like?
Well, I definitely like the Lakers in this one. If you look at their last matchup, Luka Doncic put up a triple-double in what was a loss at San Antonio. I believe with the addition of Luke Kennard at the trade deadline, this team will have a little bit more fire playing at home. I'd give the Lakers the win in this one.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go the San Antonio Spurs in this one. They're hot. They're on a 4-game win streak. For the Los Angeles Lakers, had a 3-game win streak, just lost that one to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Stephon Castle in their last game over the Dallas Mavericks had 40 points. That's a career high for him and a triple-double. I really think he leads the way here for the Spurs to beat the Los Angeles Lakers.
Taking things over to Olympic hockey, United States and Canada. They will be playing here shortly. On the women's side of things, Tyler, you said you got some significant names to mention.
Yeah, 100%, because this is a game that's so evenly tied together. And if you would have asked me this morning, I definitely would have said Canada. But I'm going to go USA here, mostly because Team Canada's captain, Marie-Philip Poulin, is out today with a lower body injury, a huge loss for Canada, who has really dominated the United States in the Olympics. Canada leads the U.S. 7-3. 6 of the 10 meetings have been in the gold medal game as well. But USA, they're hot. They have outscored their opponents 15-1. I just like how USA is running it right now.
Yeah, both teams scoring 5 goals a game, both playing very hot here in the Olympics. But with Poulin out for Canada, it's hard to deny USA a victory in this one.
Sticking with the women's side of things, we have Germany versus Italy. We'll go back to you, Cade. Who are you liking in this one?
I think these are 2 very evenly matched teams. Both have had good matches against France. Obviously, Sweden's been topping their group, but Germany and Italy, very evenly matched teams, two tough teams, but I think I'll give Italy in this one. They were underdogs against Japan. They came out 2-0 early in the first period, secured a 3-2 victory. I think they'll continue winning ways and get a third against Germany.
Yeah, these are just two very similar teams with each other. Like you said in the preliminary Group B, Sweden just dominates the top of the bracket. But you look at Germany and Italy, they beat the same two teams. They both beat France, and they both beat Japan. So it's really an evenly matched game. I really think it's going to be about a 1, maybe even 2-goal game here, but I'm going to take Germany in this one.
So last up, shifting things over to the men's side of things, Finland versus Slovakia. This is the tiebreaker, so please include a score. And gentlemen, you made it this far. This is a playoff matchup. This is do or die, so include your score and keep in mind, if you want to advance, this may be the pick. Let's go to you, Tyler.
Well, Finland won the 2022 gold medal in Beijing. They beat Russia 2-1. Slovakia, they won their bronze medal game over Sweden 4-0. Here's the kicker this year. There are active NHL players now in the tournament. And I look at Finland's roster and I look at Slovakia's roster. I think Finland dominates Slovakia in every single aspect in the game. So I'm going to go Finland. I do think it's going to be a little bit close. I'm going to go 4-2.
Well, I'd have to disagree with you there, TA. The bronze medalists of 2022, I want to give them a little bit more fight than you're giving them credit for. I think even with the NHL talent, Finland's got a lot more than Slovakia. I still want to give them credit, though, in an Olympic matchup. I'll take Slovakia 3-2.
This will wrap up today's Playoff Pick'em segment, but don't go anywhere because a new group of guys will join the desk and they'll be doing their way too early MLB predictions and preview. So don't go anywhere. You're watching Plead Your Case.
Well, football season's over. That means baseball season is almost underway. Pitchers and catchers report today and tomorrow. Whole teams start here within the week here, along with spring training coming up here in the next week and a half. Regular season just over a month away here. I'm Tyler Aaon alongside Brayden King and Chase Maceiko. We're going to talk some MLB baseball here today. Starting off, Chase, I'm going to ask you first. Based on the offseason, all these big free agents like Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, Bo Bichette, just to name a few, all going to these big market cities. Is it ruining baseball? Is baseball fully ruined now with all these big players going to these big market teams?
See, there's two options here. There's option one, which I'm going to take, and I'm going to say no. They're not ruining baseball. When you look at the numbers of the World Series over the past couple of seasons, it's been consistently on the rise since about that 2020 season. Before, it was down for the later parts of the 2010s. Now it's up. And even the All-Star Game has seen a rise in viewership. The MLB All-Star Game is the only professional All-Star Game, besides maybe hockey, that still really has its meaning. You go and you watch the Pro Bowl, it's garbage. There's no point to watch the Pro Bowl. In the MLB, watching the All-Star Game, it's fun. It actually means something. People actually try and want to be there. And I don't think that they're ruining baseball because guess what? We're seeing different teams win. We saw the Texas Rangers win 2 years ago. I didn't think they were ever going to win, especially when we see how the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, etc. all take part in the league. But no.
Yeah, baseball's ruined. I don't know what has gotten into you out of lately, but you and I both can agree that baseball's ruined at this point in time. Just the salary cap needs to happen at some point. Every other professional sports league has it, and there's parity in this league. There is not in Major League Baseball. You have the same two teams going in the World Series every single year. You've got the Dodgers, you've got the Yankees. The Mets haven't been there in a while, but they spend like crazy. You mentioned the Texas Rangers won a World Series a couple of years ago. Yeah, that's sweet and all, but they're a big market team, just like the rest of those guys. So to me, in the back of my mind, the last small market franchise that has like won a championship was the 2019 Washington Nationals. It's been before COVID. And, since then, if you get to a salary cap idea and you have a floor and you force these owners to spend up to the floor and spend them at the top of the cap as well, I think it actually shrinks the size of the competitive imbalance in the league, and you have a little bit more parity and you have more viewership in that aspect.
I don't think that just getting a salary cap is going to save baseball if it's broken. You see the best team in the National League coming out of the regular season last year was the Brewers with 97 wins. They're not a large market team. They're not spending money. They're getting homegrown talent, and they're going and they're winning. You don't have to spend crazy money to win in this league. You just have to spend enough. A cap, a floor, yeah, it's all going to help make it more competitive, but we've seen the Guardians get there consistently without it. We've seen the Brewers do it. We've seen the Reds do it. We've seen all the teams in the National League Central, besides the Pirates, consistently make the playoffs without having these hundreds of $1 million rosters besides the Cubs last year.
Okay, so you talk about the Milwaukee Brewers. They're a very small market team, and they don't have much team salary. But consistently, we see every offseason, the Milwaukee Brewers trade away all their best players to bigger market teams, and then they're stuck in the same repeat process where they're growing their own farm talent, and then they pan out really well and then get traded to big market teams. Now, the collective bargaining agreement ends at the end of the 2026 season. Would a salary floor be more interesting than a cap, Chase? I know you said you want a cap, Brayden, but Chase, would a floor work at least to start and then work your way up to a cap?
To me, I mentioned this last week on the mini segment. To me, the floor is more important because the cap is more important because the bigger market teams can always spend more money. Nothing's stopping them unless you get the cap. If you have the floor, the little market teams are trying to spend up, but the big market teams are just going to spend more. So you would need a cap, but I still don't think baseball's ruined.
Okay, well, you look at the offseason now. A ton of teams have improved. A ton of teams have not improved at all. Which team do you think going into the season is overrated and underrated? Brayden, we'll start with you.
So I've got a couple overrated teams, and one of them is the Philadelphia Phillies. I really do not like what they did in this offseason. I don't think they spent enough, and I've talked about it, at the start of the segment where I think the team spent too much. The Phillies are that big market squad that can have that money and that excess cash. They didn't do it, and the pitching is the problem. They have a couple injuries. I will mention that Zach Wheeler's out for a while, but Aaron Nola, Taijuan Walker, you're just not going to win a whole bunch of games come playoff time with those two guys as your starting pitchers.
I had the Phillies written down, but I'll throw another overrated team out there, the New York Yankees. What a terrible offseason for the Yankees. They bring back Cody Bellinger, and you basically have the exact same team as last year. They haven't been able to beat the Dodgers 2 years ago. This past season, they don't even make it to the World Series. What a disappointing franchise to lead Major League Baseball in World Series and not win any since 2009. Just absolutely disappointing. You can spend all the money in the world, but when the coach has been the same, they haven't changed at all. They haven't adapted to the 21st century, basically, of the data revolution. Yes, they have Aaron Judge, but they can't get over the hump. It was a disappointing offseason for the Yankees. And I don't see them beating the Blue Jays. I don't see them beating the Red Sox after what the Red Sox did this offseason.
Well, okay, so do you think that there's a team that didn't make the postseason this past season that will make it to the postseason this season?
Well, as much as I would like to say the Pirates, the thing with the Pirates is that defense is suspect. I just saw a stat on Twitter that the Pirates were like 62 and 57 when they scored more than 2 runs last season. Mm-hmm. They only averaged less than 5. So this season, with the moves they make, they definitely have that opportunity. Even if they make it, even with Paul Skeens, I don't see them going that far. One of the teams I'm most excited about was in the playoffs last year, the Seattle Mariners. They went to 7 games in the ALCS. They have one of the best pitching staffs in the league. Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Brian Wu. Brian Wu, 27.1 strikeout percentage last year, a 2.94 ERA. Opponents batting 200. And then they add in an offense with Cal Raleigh. Could have won MVP, maybe should have won MVP. Didn't get the nod. Julio Rodriguez was 30-30. And then they bring in Brendan Donovan, who batted .287 last year, would have been best among qualified hitters for the Mariners, and they re-signed Josh Naylor. So the Mariners are my team to watch heading into this next season.
It's a big year for the Pirates. I'm just going to throw it out there. They need it this year. This is the year. You know, we're 1 year away from that salary cap that I'm hoping we're going to get once the CBA expires on December 1st. But for the Pirates, this is their first time in a long time that they've eclipsed over $100 million in their payroll, and they made a bunch of signings in the past couple of weeks that just bolster those bats that they desperately needed. I still feel like that they're one piece away at third base because I don't think Jared Triolo has the bat to keep this team over. But this is a year where, especially inside the city, you know the lease is going to expire in 4 or 5 years. So this is a year for the Pirates that they desperately need to get back to the postseason. I think that they can do it.
Yeah, I think that the NL Central and the AL East,
It's wide
those
open.
divisions, they're wide open.
Yeah.
Any team can win it in those divisions. But thank you guys for coming on and talking Major League Baseball with me. That's going to do it for this segment of Plead Your Case. Coming up next, Brady Donovan's going to come up and talk about the top 5 moments of the Super Bowl. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Plead Your Case.
Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm Mia Hinkins, and welcome to Buell Hall, home of Waynesburg University's Department of Communication. If you visit our campus, you'll have the opportunity to attend some comm classes, enjoy lunch with our students, and watch us in action. We hope to see you here soon at Waynesburg University.
To schedule your personal visit, go to waynesburg.edu/admissions/schedule-visit. Come grow with us at Waynesburg University.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Plead Your Case. This is the final segment of episode 16, and I'm here, Brady Donovan, with the top 5 moments from Super Bowl 60. Let's kick it off with number 5. The wedding at the halftime show was real. The wedding that took place at Bad Bunny's halftime show was, in fact, real. The unnamed couple invited Bad Bunny to their wedding, and in return, Bad Bunny offered them to get married at the halftime show. If you ask me, that's pretty cool. Number 4, the Coinbase commercial. This was absolutely one of the best commercials of the entire night. I think everybody that was watching on TV broke out in their best Backstreet Boys impression to sing along with I Want It That Way in the commercial. Number 3, the Uchenna Nwosu touchdown. Nwosu's interception that was returned for a touchdown was truly the turning point of the game. It looked like New England was getting a little bit of light and might come back because there was enough time, but then Nwosu and Devin Witherspoon just absolutely shut it down and said, hey, we're taking the Lombardi back to Seattle. Number 2, the Budweiser commercial. The best commercial of the night, arguably one of the best commercials of all time to ever grace the Super Bowl screen. If this commercial didn't make you feel patriotic, then I don't know what will. A Clydesdale, a Bald Eagle, an American Brewing Company, Farmers, and Freebird should make you feel like George Washington crossing the Delaware River on a boat, carrying the American flag. And of course, number 1, the Seattle Seahawks win, and Kenneth Walker III gets Super Bowl MVP. The Seattle Seahawks got their revenge from Super Bowl 49 against the New England Patriots. Kenneth Walker III finished the game with 27 carries, 161 scrimmage yards, and is the first Super Bowl MVP running back since Terrell Davis in 1998 with the Denver Broncos. He's also the second leading rusher in a half in Super Bowl history, with Timmy Smith being first in the 1988 Super Bowl with the Washington Redskins. Well, that's going to do it all for Plead Your Case, episode 16. Brady Donovan finishing up with the top 5 moments from Super Bowl 60. Thank you for watching.